The USNS Nightingale drifted through the starlit void, its stark white hull adorned with prominent red crosses that seemed to glow against the backdrop of distant nebulae. Once a symbol of hope, the aging hospital ship now moved with the weariness of a vessel pushed far beyond its operational limits. Captain Lena Petrova stood at the command bridge, her eyes fixed on a navigation display that showed their precarious position along the disputed border territories. Her uniform, once crisp and pristine, now hung slightly loose on her frame after weeks of minimal sleep and missed meals. "Captain, we've got another 20 refugees coming aboard from the mining station," announced Lieutenant Rivera, her communications officer. "Medical Bay is requesting guidance on prioritization." Petrova suppressed a sigh. "Tell Dr. Vance I'll be down shortly. And inform security to maintain standard screening protocols, even with our limited personnel." As Rivera relayed the instructions, Petrova studied the tactical display. The sector crawled with danger: rogue faction ships, pirates, and the occasional military vessel from one of the major powers, all circling like vultures around the collapsing colony worlds. The Nightingale's mission to evacuate civilians and provide medical aid to the war-torn Proxima settlements had stretched from weeks into months as the conflict intensified. The ship's intercom crackled. "Captain, engineering here. We need to discuss our propulsion reserves." The voice belonged to Chief Engineer Josh Sharma, whose perpetual pragmatism had kept the Nightingale functioning despite chronic supply shortages. "On my way, Sharma." Petrova made her way through the corridors of the Nightingale, nodding at passing crew members whose exhaustion mirrored her own. The ship had been designed to accommodate 500 patients and a crew of 200. They were now housing over 700 refugees with a skeleton crew of 83. Engineering was a testament to Sharma's ingenuity: jury-rigged systems, repurposed components, and meticulously rationed power distribution. The chief engineer herself stood hunched over a diagnostic panel, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, hands stained with mechanical lubricant. "Captain," Sharma acknowledged without looking up, "our main drive efficiency has dropped another 8%. At this rate, we'll be operating on emergency thrusters within 48 hours. Can we reroute power from non-essential systems?" "Already done. 3 times." Sharma finally looked up, dark circles prominent under her eyes. "We've stripped everything to the bone. Life support, medical systems, and propulsion are all we're powering at full capacity now." Petrova leaned against a console. "What about the auxiliary generators?" "Running at 118% of recommended output. One's already failed. I've got teams working around the clock, just keeping the others from following suit." Sharma wiped her hands on a rag. "We need to make port, Captain. Soon. The nearest neutral station is 4 days at full speed. Then we'll need a miracle to get there." Petrova nodded grimly. "Keep me updated on any changes. I'm headed to medical." As she turned to leave, she noticed a figure quietly observing from near the secondary systems panel, a civilian dressed in nondescript gray utilities. The man known to the crew only as Mr. Kaido had boarded 3 weeks ago at their last resupply point, listed in the manifest as a civilian logistics specialist, assisting with the humanitarian mission. "Mr. Kaido," Petrova acknowledged with a nod. "Still familiarizing yourself with our systems?" The man straightened. He was average in height and build, with features that seemed to blend Asian and European ancestry. His most distinctive feature was a strange, geometric scar at his right temple. His eyes, however, were anything but average, dark, calculated, and observant in a way that suggested he missed nothing. "Captain," he replied with a slight bow of his head. "Just observing Engineer Sharma's impressive adaptations. Your crew performs admirably under pressure." His voice carried no discernible accent, yet something about his precise diction suggested it wasn't his native tongue. Kaido had kept largely to himself during the voyage, occasionally offering logistical suggestions that proved remarkably effective, but otherwise remaining a quiet presence aboard the crowded vessel. "Thank you. If you'll excuse me, I have matters to attend to in medical." Kaido nodded and returned to his examination of the subsystems diagram. Petrova had run basic background checks when he'd come aboard. His credentials had cleared all standard Alliance protocols, but something about the man continuously prickled at her instincts. In her 20 years of service, she'd developed a sense for people who were more than they seemed. Kaido definitely qualified. The medical bay was organized chaos when Petrova arrived. Dr. Elias Vance moved between beds. With the deliberate efficiency of a physician who had learned to ration not just supplies, but also his own energy. His tall frame stooped slightly as he examined a child with radiation burns, refugees from one of the mining colonies that had been caught in crossfire. "Dr. Vance," Petrova called out. "You requested guidance?" Vance looked up, his weathered face showing momentary relief at seeing the captain. He gestured for a nurse to continue the treatment and stepped aside. "Captain, we've got 20 new arrivals, and at least 8 require intensive care. Our critical supplies are at less than 15% capacity." He ran a hand through his graying hair. "I've got patients I can't properly treat, and more coming in with each passing hour." "I understand. Sharma just informed me that our propulsion systems are failing. We're making for the Proxima 9 station, but it's going to be tight." Vance's expression darkened. "We're sitting ducks out here, Lena. Every faction knows the Nightingale is packed with refugees from all sides of this conflict. Some would consider us a valuable target, others a liability to be eliminated. We're a clearly marked hospital ship under Alliance protection," Petrova reminded him, though the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. The Alliance's ability to project power in the border regions had weakened considerably as the conflict expanded. "Alliance protection," Vance scoffed. "Tell that to the 3 other medical transports that disappeared last month." Before Petrova could respond, the ship's alarm blared. She immediately reached for her comm. "Bridge report." Lieutenant Rivera's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Captain, we have multiple vessels on approach. Configuration matches Vraxian raiding fleet. They're not responding to hails." Petrova's blood ran cold. Vraxians were among the most feared pirates in the sector, reptilian warriors known for their brutality and their particular disdain for human vessels, which they considered soft targets rich with salvageable technology and vulnerable captives. "Battle stations. Activate defensive measures and prepare evasive maneuvers." "Captain," Rivera's voice cracked. "They've already locked weapons. Incoming fire." The ship rocked violently as the first volley struck their minimal shields. Petrova grabbed a support beam to steady herself, while Vance moved to secure patients from falling. "Damage report," she shouted into her comm. Sharma responded, her voice punctuated by the sound of alarms. "Direct hit to our main propulsion system. Shields at 23% and failing. Secondary power grid is offline." Petrova rushed for medical, racing toward the bridge as more impacts shuddered through the vessel. By the time she arrived, acrid smoke filled the air from an overloaded console. The tactical display showed 5 Vraxian ships circling the Nightingale like predators toying with wounded prey. "Weapons status?" she demanded, though she already knew the answer. Hospital ships carried only minimal point defense systems, enough to destroy incoming debris or deter the occasional single raider, but nothing capable of fending off a coordinated attack. "All defense systems are offline, Captain," reported the tactical officer, a young ensign whose name escaped Petrova in the moment. "We managed 1 countermeasure burst before they targeted our weapons array." The main view screen flickered, and the scaled visage of a Vraxian commander appeared. Gold ornaments adorned the ridges of its face, marking it as a fleet leader. Its vertical pupils narrowed as it regarded the human bridge crew with evident disdain. "So fragile, your vessel," it hissed in accented standard. "We will return to claim our prize after we deal with more pressing matters. Consider this time a gift to prepare yourselves for servitude, or resistance if you prefer a quicker death." The transmission cut off abruptly. "They're pulling back," reported Rivera, surprise evident in her voice. "Maintaining position at 50 kilometers, but they've powered down weapons." "They're not leaving?" Petrova asked. "No, Captain. It appears they're dealing with something else, possibly another target. Based on their communication, They intend to return. Petrova surveyed her bridge crew, each face reflecting the same grim reality. The Nightingale was crippled, defenseless, and filled with vulnerable civilians. When the Vraxians returned, there would be no escape. "How long until they come back?" she asked. The tactical officer studied his readings. "Based on their current engagement, perhaps 3 hours." 3 hours, Petrova repeated, her mind racing through options and finding none. "Give me Sharma and Dr. Vance. We need to prepare evacuation protocols for critical patients." As the crew scrambled to carry out orders, Petrova stared at the tactical display where the Vraxian ships hovered like executioners awaiting their moment. For the first time in her career, she faced the very real possibility that she would fail in her duty to protect her ship and its vulnerable cargo of refugees. The bleak silence of the bridge was broken by the soft hiss of the turbolift doors. "Mr." Kaido stepped onto the bridge, his calm demeanor standing in stark contrast to the chaos around him. "Captain," he said, his voice cutting through the frantic communications and alarm signals, "I believe I can offer a solution to our current predicament." Petrova turned, surprise momentarily overriding her despair. "Mr. Kaido, civilians are supposed to be in secure areas during—" "I understand, Captain," he interrupted, his eyes moving methodically across the tactical displays. "But time is a luxury we cannot afford. You have approximately 2 hours and 47 minutes before the Vraxian fleet returns. They're currently engaged with a Tellurian trading convoy. A minor distraction they will dispatch quickly." The bridge fell silent as all eyes turned to the mysterious passenger. "How could you possibly know that?" Petrova demanded. "I recognize their energy signatures and communication patterns," Kaido replied matter-of-factly. "More importantly, I know how to ensure the Nightingale survives their return." Petrova studied him carefully. "You're not a logistics specialist, are you?" A ghost of a smile appeared on Kaido's face. "I specialize in solving complex problems with limited resources. Right now, Captain, you have precisely one problem and very limited resources." The bridge doors opened again as Dr. Vance and Engineer Sharma arrived, both breathing heavily from their rush to respond to the captain's summons. "What's he doing here?" Sharma demanded, gesturing toward Kaido. "Apparently, offering us a miracle," Petrova replied, her tone guarded. "Mr. Kaido believes he can help us survive the Vraxian attack." Vance scoffed. "Unless he's hiding a battlecruiser in his quarters, I don't see how." "Not a battlecruiser, Doctor," Kaido said, stepping to the central console, "but something equally effective." He manipulated the controls with surprising familiarity, bringing up detailed schematics of the Nightingale. "I need access to the following systems: waste processing, medical field generators, disinfectant chemical storage, and the automated surgical robots." "Those are medical systems, not weapons," Vance protested. "Everything is a weapon when properly repurposed," Kaido replied, his fingers dancing across the console. "Captain, I need your authorization codes to access these systems." Petrova hesitated. "You're asking me to hand over control of critical ship systems to a civilian passenger we know next to nothing about?" "I'm asking you to trust me to save over 800 lives," Kaido corrected, his dark eyes locking with hers. "The alternative is waiting for the Vraxians to return and hoping for mercy they're not biologically capable of feeling." Sharma stepped forward. "Captain, what exactly is your plan, Mr. Kaido?" Instead of answering, Kaido picked up a damaged communication relay from a nearby workstation. With quick, precise movements, he disassembled it, reconfigured several components, and reassembled it into what appeared to be a makeshift signal booster. He connected it to the console, and suddenly the previously static-filled emergency channel cleared. "A demonstration of my technical capabilities," he explained, noting the surprised expressions. "Now, regarding my plan, we're going to convert this hospital ship into a death trap using only medical and maintenance equipment." "That's insane," Vance muttered. "On the contrary, Doctor, it's entirely logical. The Vraxians expect no resistance from a crippled hospital ship. Their overconfidence will be their undoing. Kaido turned back to Petrova. Captain, I need your decision. We're losing valuable preparation time. Petrova looked at her senior officers. Sharma appeared skeptical but intrigued, while Vance seemed outright opposed. The rest of the bridge crew watched with a mixture of hope and doubt. How do you have access to our systems already? Petrova asked, noting how easily he had manipulated the ship's schematics. I've been studying them since I came aboard, Kaido replied simply. Standard observation protocols. Standard for whom? Petrova pressed. Kaido's expression remained unchanged. For someone who prepares for all contingencies, Captain. The ship's emergency lighting flickered, a reminder of their precarious power situation. Mr. Kaido, Petrova said finally, her voice firm with resolve. You have 2 minutes to convince me and my senior officers that your plan has any chance of succeeding. After that, either you'll be helping us implement it, or you'll be confined to quarters while we prepare our own defense. Kaido nodded once, then began outlining a plan so audacious and detailed that even Vance fell silent in grudging attention. By the time he finished, the atmosphere on the bridge had shifted from despair to cautious determination. It could work, Sharma admitted finally. The modifications are unorthodox, but technically feasible. It's barbaric, Vance countered, though with less conviction than before. Converting life-saving equipment into survival tools, Kaido finished for him. The ethical calculation is simple, Doctor. Either we repurpose these systems temporarily, or the Vraxians will permanently repurpose all of us. Petrova made her decision. We proceed with Mr. Kaido's plan. Sharma, you'll coordinate the engineering aspects. Dr. Vance, we need your medical expertise to ensure these modifications can be reversed once we're safe. All crew to battle stations. We have less than 3 hours to transform this ship. As the bridge exploded into activity, Petrova found herself standing beside Kaido, who was already programming detailed instructions into a datapad. You still haven't told me who you really are, she said quietly. Kaido looked up, his expression unreadable. Someone who doesn't like bullies, Captain, especially ones who attack hospital ships. With that enigmatic response, he handed her the datapad and moved toward the exit. I'll begin in the secondary engineering bay. Have your security chief meet me there with access credentials. As he left, Petrova couldn't shake the feeling that she had just allied herself with someone far more dangerous than the Vraxians who hunted them. The next 2 hours aboard the Nightingale unfolded in a blur of focused chaos. Under Kaido's precise direction, crew members who had been paralyzed by hopelessness now moved with purposeful energy, converting healing instruments into implements of destruction. In the ventilation control room, Kaido supervised as technicians modified the environmental systems. Increased the pressure regulators in sections 12 through 17 by exactly 42%, he instructed, his hands moving across the control panel with practiced ease. And redirect the anesthetic gas reserves from operating theaters 2 and 3 to these junction points. A young engineer looked up nervously. Sir, that level of pressure could rupture the gas containment seals. It would, if we weren't simultaneously recalibrating the emergency vending protocols, Kaido replied without looking up. Patch this control module to the secondary command node I established in auxiliary engineering. Throughout the ship, similar transformations took place. In the surgical wing, Dr. Vance watched with conflicted fascination as Kaido reprogrammed the automated surgical robots, machines designed to perform delicate, life-saving procedures with micrometer precision. You're turning my surgical assistants into assassins, Vance said, his voice heavy with disapproval as the robot's laser scalpels and grasping appendages moved through new, lethal patterns. I'm reprogramming them for a different kind of surgery, Kaido corrected, his fingers flying across the terminal. Vraxian armor has junction points, here, here, and here. He pointed to a diagram he'd somehow produced of Vraxian battle gear. These robots can target those junctions with surgical precision, temporarily disabling rather than killing, if that eases your conscience. Vance frowned. And how exactly do you know the vulnerabilities in Vraxian combat armor? Kaido paused briefly, meeting the doctor's gaze. The same way I know how to rewire your surgical robots. Observation and analysis. These units are now programmed to emerge from their charging stations when triggered and target any non-human biological signatures. They'll prioritize mobility impairment over lethal strikes unless directly attacked. In a medical lab, Engineer Sharmath supervised as technicians reinforced sample containment chambers and reconfigured them according to Kaido's specifications. These modifications will create localized vacuum implosions when breached, she explained to her team, studying the schematics Kaido had provided. The pressure differential will be enough to disorient or incapacitate anyone in the immediate vicinity without causing structural damage to the ship itself. One of her engineers looked up in surprise. That's actually brilliant. How did you calculate the exact containment field parameters? Sharma shook her head. I didn't. Our mysterious passenger did. She adjusted a power coupling with practiced hands. Whoever missed her, Kaido really is. He knows this ship's systems better than people who've served on it for years. Throughout the vessel, high-pressure disinfectant sprayers were revet to strategic corridor junctions. Their chemical reservoirs switched from standard sterilization solutions to compounds that, while non-lethal to humans, would cause severe respiratory distress and temporary blindness to Vraxian physiology. Medical scanners, designed to create detailed images of internal injuries, were recalibrated to emit focused sonic pulses capable of disrupting the sensitive auditory organs of the reptilian raiders. Therapeutic light arrays were adjusted to produce frequencies specifically disorienting to Vraxian optical receptors. As the preparations neared completion, an atmosphere of tense anticipation replaced the previous despair. Crew members who had been preparing to die now moved with renewed purpose, checking connections and rehearsing their roles in the defense plan. On the bridge, Petrova monitored the Vraxian fleet through the ship's long-range sensors. They're finishing their attack on the Tellurian convoy, she reported into her comm. Estimated return time, 38 minutes. We'll be ready, came Kaido's calm reply. Direct all non-essential personnel and refugees to the designated safe zones. Ensure the emergency bulkheads are prepared for remote activation according to the sequence I provided. At his makeshift command center in auxiliary engineering, Kaido had created an impromptu battle management system by linking medical diagnostic displays with engineering terminals. The result was a comprehensive overview of the ship, with every trap and defensive measure clearly indicated. Security Chief Alvarez, who had initially been the most skeptical of Kaido's plan, now stood beside him, watching as he completed the final calibrations. I've served on 5 different vessels, Alvarez said, breaking the tense silence. And I've never seen anyone who could integrate systems like this. Military intelligence. Kaido's expression remained neutral as he adjusted a parameter. Not exactly. Then what exactly? Because no civilian logistics specialist could do what you're doing. Kaido finally looked up from his work. Does it matter, Chief Alvarez? In 36 minutes, either my plan works and we survive, or it fails and none of your questions will matter anyway. Before Alvarez could press further, Captain Petrova's voice came through the comm. All stations be advised. We have unexpected company. An Xyler Empire scout ship has entered the sector. They're maintaining distance, but appear to be observing both us and the Vraxian fleet. Kaido's hands paused momentarily over the controls. Interesting. The Xylars rarely venture this far into disputed territory. Should we attempt contact? Petrova asked. No, Kaido replied immediately. The Xylars consider themselves superior to humans in all respects. They would dismiss any request for assistance as beneath their notice. However, their presence may prove useful. Their sensors are highly advanced. They'll be recording everything that happens. Why is that useful to us? Alvarez asked. A slight curve appeared at the corner of Kaido's mouth. Not quite a smile, but something adjacent to satisfaction. Because history is written by witnesses, Chief Alvarez. Now, let's make this performance worth watching. Aboard the Xyler Scout vessel Unwavering Truth, Senior Observer Tazral studied the curious tableau unfolding before his ship's sensors. His elongated digits tapped a complex rhythm on the arm of his command chair as he considered the scene. "Curious," he murmured, his four eyes blinking in alternating pairs, a sign of intellectual interest among his species. A human medical vessel, severely damaged, and a Vraxian raiding fleet returning from a successful hunt. His second, Vin Shore, inclined her head respectfully. "Hardly worth our attention, Senior Observer. The outcome is predictable. Vraxians are brutally efficient, and human vessels are notoriously vulnerable." "Perhaps," Tazral replied, two of his eyes narrowing. "Yet our sensors detected unusual power fluctuations within the human vessel during the Vraxian's absence. Reconfigure our observation arrays for maximum detail. I wish to document this encounter thoroughly." "For what purpose?" Vin Shore questioned, confusion evident in her harmonic tones. Tazral's upper eyes blinked slowly. "Knowledge," second Vin Shore. "The Xyler Empire became great by observing, analyzing, and understanding the lesser species. Even predictable events can yield unpredictable insights." Across the void, the Vraxian fleet reapproached the crippled Nightingale, their weapons systems powering up as they prepared to claim their prize. On the command ship, Fleet Commander Kvex surveyed the damaged hospital vessel with anticipation. Its scaled lips pulled back to reveal serrated teeth, the Vraxian expression of pleasure. "A simple harvest," Kvex declared to its bridge crew. "The humans have had time to contemplate their fate. Some may have chosen suicide over capture, but enough will remain." "Shall we offer terms of surrender?" asked a subordinate. Kvex made a dismissive gesture with its clawed hand. "Unnecessary. Board and secure. Kill any who resist. Preserve the medical equipment and take the humans with technical knowledge alive. The rest are expendable." The Vraxian boarding craft detached from their mother ships, sleek predatory forms against the starlit void, converging on the seemingly helpless hospital ship. Aboard the Nightingale, Kaido's voice came through on all emergency channels. "All stations, prepare for engagement. Seal designated compartments and activate defensive protocols on my mark." Throughout the ship, crew members moved to their assigned positions. In the medical bay, Dr. Vance administered final doses of mild sedatives to critical patients, ensuring they would remain unconscious through what was to come. "This goes against everything I believe in," he muttered as he checked a young woman's vital signs. Nurse Rodriguez adjusted the patient's oxygen flow. "So does letting the Vraxians take them, Doctor?" In engineering, Sharma monitored the power distribution grid, her fingers poised over controls that would redirect energy to Kaido's improvised defensive systems. "Standing by, Mr. Kaido. All power nodes are green." On the bridge, Captain Petrova watched the approaching boarding craft on the tactical display. "They're committing their full boarding complement," she reported. 5 craft, approximately 15 warriors each. "As expected," Kaido replied, his voice betraying no tension. "They believe we're defenseless. That misconception is our advantage." The first Vraxian boarding craft attached to the Nightingale's primary airlock. Others secured themselves to emergency exits and maintenance hatches around the ship's perimeter. With practiced efficiency, the reptilian warriors cut through the outer doors. "Contact at all entry points," Petrova reported. "They're breaching now. Hold positions," Kaido instructed, his eyes fixed on the integrated display showing the intruder's progress. "Let them commit fully to the trap." The Vraxian warriors surged into the Nightingale, weapons raised, moving with the confidence of predators who expected minimal resistance. Their helmet sensors scanned for life forms as they advanced deeper into the dimly lit corridors. Squad leader Zack gestured for his warriors to spread out as they secured the main entry corridor. "Minimal resistance," he reported back to the command ship. Proceeding to primary objectives. As the Vraxians advanced past the first intersection, Kaido's voice remained steady. "Trap sequence initiating. Sealing compartments 3, 7, and 12. Throughout the ship, emergency bulkheads slammed shut isolating groups of invaders from one another. Before the Vraxians could react, the next phase began. Activating ventilation protocol. In 3 different sections of the ship, the modified environmental systems released precisely calculated bursts of anesthetic gas, calibrated to Vraxian physiology. Warriors stumbled, their movements becoming uncoordinated as the gas took effect. Surgical response teams engage. From her charging stations, the reprogrammed medical robots activated, their normally gentle appendages now moving with predatory purpose. They emerged from recessed wall panels and maintenance shafts, catching the disoriented Vraxians by surprise. Laser scalpels precisely targeted the junction points in the invaders' armor, disabling weapons systems and mobility enhancers. In another section, a group of Vraxians breached a sealed laboratory door, triggering the modified sample containers. The resulting implosion created a localized vacuum effect that sent equipment and unanchored Vraxians tumbling in a chaotic maelstrom, their weapons torn from their grasps by the sudden pressure differential. Throughout the ship, high-pressure sprayers activated as Vraxians passed key junctions, dousing them with chemical compounds that adhered to their armor and exposed scales. Warriors howled in distress as the solutions caused intense burning sensations and temporary blindness. In his command center, Kaido methodically tracked each engagement, adjusting responses with cold precision. Section 5. Increase sonic pulse frequency by 12%. Section 8. Activate secondary containment protocol. Aboard the Vraxian command ship, confusion reigned as the boarding team's communications devolved into chaos. "What is happening?" demanded Commander Kvex. "Report. Ambush," came a gasping reply from squad leader Zack. "The ship, it fights back. Weapons we've never. ARGH." The transmission ended in static. Kvex slammed a clawed fist on its command console. "Impossible. It's a human medical vessel." It turned to its weapons officer. "Target their primary hull sections. If we cannot have the prize, we will destroy it." "Commander," the weapons officer replied, voice strained, "the Xyler observation vessel is recording all transmissions. An unprovoked attack on a clearly marked hospital ship while under observation by the Empire would violate 3 interstellar conventions." Kvex hissed in frustration, knowing the officer was right. The Xyler Empire might consider humans inferior, but they were meticulous about documenting violations of galactic law, violations they could later use as leverage against the Vraxian Confederacy. Aboard the Nightingale, the tide had decisively turned. Vraxian boarding parties, expecting to encounter terrified medical personnel and refugees, instead found themselves fragmented, disoriented, and systematically neutralized by repurposed medical equipment wielded with devastating effectiveness. In a forward corridor, Security Chief Alvarez and 2 of his officers watched in astonishment as a team of surgical robots surrounded a group of Vraxian warriors. The robots moved with uncanny coordination, their appendages precisely targeting vulnerable points in the invaders' armor and physiology. Within moments, the fearsome warriors lay incapacitated, their weapons disabled, their armor partially disassembled while they still wore it. "Holy hell," whispered one of the security officers. "Those robots just took apart their armor like they were prepping them for surgery." Alvarez swallowed hard, because that's exactly what they were programmed to do. Throughout the ship, similar scenes unfolded. Vraxians, among the most feared warriors in the sector, found themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed not by superior firepower, but by healing instruments turned to precisely targeted harm. In auxiliary engineering, Kaido monitored the final phases of the defense with the same calm he had displayed throughout. "All boarding craft have been secured," he reported to Captain Petrova. 73 Vraxian warriors neutralized. 14 escaped back to their vessels. "Casualty report from our side." Petrova's voice held undisguised amazement. 3 minor injuries from initial breach points. No fatalities or serious wounds. "Excellent," Kaido replied. "Please inform Dr. Vance that he can begin converting the medical systems back to their original configurations. The immediate threat has passed." "And a Vraxian fleet?" Petrova asked. Kaido glanced at his tactical display. Already retreating, they have no protocol for this situation. Their remaining forces are insufficient for another boarding action, and they cannot open fire with the Xylar vessel observing. As if on cue, a communication alert sounded. Captain, Lieutenant Rivera called from the bridge. We're receiving a transmission from the Xylar vessel. Put it through to auxiliary engineering, Petrova ordered. The angular, four-eyed face of senior observer Tazrael appeared on Kaido's display. The Xylar's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but the slight forward tilt of its elongated head suggested intense curiosity. Human vessel, Tazrael began, his translator rendering his harmonic language into standard, explained the nature of the incident we have just observed. Kaido stepped into view of the communication feed before Petrova could respond. Greetings, Senior Observer. The Nightingale experienced a security incident involving unauthorized boarding by Vraxian elements. We resolved the matter using available resources. The Xylar's four eyes blinked in complex patterns. Your available resources appear to include highly sophisticated defensive protocols not consistent with a medical vessel's standard equipment. We improvised, Kaido replied simply. The Nightingale's primary mission is to preserve life. Today, that required protecting our patients and crew from those who would do them harm. Improvised, the Xylar repeated, the translator unable to fully convey the mixture of disbelief and reevaluation in its tone. Our sensors detected no conventional weapons discharge, yet you neutralized a Vraxian boarding force of considerable size. As I said, we used available resources efficiently. The Xylar leaned closer to the communication array. Identify yourself, human. You are not designated as this vessel's commander. A specialist in problem-solving, Kaido replied. Nothing more. Tazrael's upper eyes narrowed slightly. The Xylar Empire will be reviewing this incident in detail. Your methods are unexpected. We appreciate your thorough documentation of events. Kaido replied with the faintest hint of satisfaction. It will surely prove educational for all concerned parties. After the communication ended, Captain Petrova stepped into view. That was risky. The Xylars aren't known for their fondness of humans. No, Kaido agreed. But they are known for their meticulous records and their love of analyzing unexpected phenomena. The data they collected today will be studied extensively throughout their empire. Understanding dawned on Petrova's face. You wanted them to witness this. From the beginning, Kaido began powering down his improvised command center. The most effective way to change perception is to provide incontrovertible evidence that challenges existing assumptions. Today, we provided such evidence. In the hours that followed, the Nightingale gradually returned to its primary function. Medical systems were recalibrated to their healing purposes, and the unconscious or restrained Vraxian warriors were secured in makeshift containment areas. Dr. Vance supervised the conversion of surgical robots back to their original programming, his expression troubled as he watched technicians work. Kaido approached silently, observing for a moment before speaking. You disapprove of what we did, he stated simply. Vance looked up, fatigue evident in his features. I took an oath to do no harm. Today, I helped convert instruments of healing into weapons. And in doing so, you saved hundreds of lives, Kaido replied, including those of the Vraxians. Vance's eyebrows rose in surprise. How do you figure that? Had we not defended ourselves effectively, the captain would have been forced to attempt more desperate measures. Self-destructing the ship, perhaps, or the Alliance, upon learning of our fate, might have launched retaliatory strikes against Vraxian territories. Kaido's calm logic was undeniable. Instead, we incapacitated rather than killed, demonstrated strength rather than weakness, and changed perceptions rather than reinforcing them. That's quite the rationalization, Vance muttered, though with less conviction. It's quite the reality, Kaido corrected mildly. The universe rarely offers perfect choices, Doctor. Only optimal outcomes given existing constraints. In engineering, Sharma was overseeing the restoration of primary systems when Kaido entered. Unlike Vance, the engineers seemed to have developed a grudging respect for their mysterious passenger. "Your improvisations shouldn't have worked as well as they did," she said without preamble, studying a diagnostic readout. "Some of these modifications violated basic engineering principles." "Only the principles taught in standard technical academies," Kaido replied. "Physics itself remains unviolated." Sharma eyed him speculatively. "Who designed those traps in the sample containment area?" The vacuum implosions were elegant. For the first time, something approaching genuine warmth flickered in Kaido's expression. "I've always found elegance and efficiency to be natural partners." On the bridge, Captain Petrova was coordinating with Alliance rescue vessels that had finally responded to their distress calls. She paused as Kaido entered, dismissing her communications officer with a gesture. "Our reinforcements will arrive within 12 hours, she informed him. "They're sending a military escort to accompany us to Proxima 9 Station." "Unnecessary now," Kaido observed. "News of today's events is already spreading. No other raiders will risk approaching the Nightingale." Petrova studied him carefully. "You still haven't told me who you really are." "Does it matter?" Kaido asked. "My identity doesn't change what happened here today." "It matters to me," Petrova insisted. "I've given 20 years of my life to the service, following rules, filing reports, operating within the system. Then you appear and achieve in hours what I couldn't accomplish in weeks of official requests for additional security." Kaido was silent for a moment, his dark eyes unreadable. "Institutions are necessary for civilization, Captain, but they're also inherently reactive, bound by precedent and procedure. Sometimes problems arise that require different approaches. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can offer at present." He turned to leave, then paused. "The ship should reach Proxima 9 without further incident. Once there, I'll be departing." "Just like that?" Petrova asked. Kaido nodded once. "Just like that." Aboard the Xylar vessel Unwavering Truth, Senior Observer Tazrael had isolated himself in his private analysis chamber, his 4 eyes fixed on display screens showing multiple angles of the encounter between the Nightingale and the Vraxian boarding parties. "Impossible," he muttered, watching as a medical robot precisely disassembled a Vraxian warrior's battle armor while leaving the occupant largely unharmed. "This level of tactical adaptation using non-military equipment is—" He paused, a memory stirring from his extensive education in galactic history. With a series of precise gestures, he accessed the ship's secure archives, searching through ancient intelligence records acquired through various means over centuries of Xylar observation. Facial recognition algorithms ran across the footage from the Nightingale, focusing on the human who had responded to his communication. The computer returned a surprising result: a partial match to fragmentary records from nearly 2 decades earlier, preserved from a now-defunct Earth Alliance Black Operations program. "Project Black Phoenix," Tazrael read aloud, his harmonic voice vibrating with intensity. "A specialized human initiative to train operatives in asymmetrical problem-solving and environmental weaponization. Subjects demonstrated unprecedented capability to convert ordinary objects and systems into effective defensive or offensive tools." The file contained little concrete information. Most had been purged when the program was officially disbanded following diplomatic protests from multiple species who considered it a violation of armament treaties. But one designation appeared repeatedly in the fragmented text: an operative code named Kaido. Tazrael's eyes blinked in alternating pairs, a sign of profound intellectual stimulation among his kind. He composed a priority transmission to the Xylar High Command, attaching his preliminary analysis along with the full sensor records of the encounter. His message was succinct: significant reevaluation of human military potential required. Observe footage of single human operative neutralizing elite Vraxian boarding party using only repurposed medical equipment. Recommend immediate strategic reassessment. Days later, the Nightingale docked at Proxima 9 Station, its battered hull a testament to its ordeal. As refugees and patients were transferred to the station's more comprehensive medical facilities, the crew found themselves at the center of growing attention. Word had spread quickly through subspace communications. The seemingly impossible had occurred. A vulnerable hospital ship had not only survived a Vraxian attack, but had decisively defeated the boarding parties using only repurposed medical equipment. The story grew with each retelling, though the Xylers' meticulous recordings ensured that even the most embellished versions contained a core of astonishing truth. Captain Petrova found herself fielding inquiries from Alliance Military Command, Diplomatic Corps, and even representatives from several non-human governments. All wanted details about the innovative defensive protocols that had been employed, particularly regarding the mysterious specialist who had orchestrated them. In her quarters, Petrova reviewed the ship's manifest one last time. As expected, Mr. Kaido had indeed departed during the transfer operations. No formal checkout, no forwarding destination. His personnel file contained all the proper documentation, yet revealed nothing of substance. It was, she now realized, a masterpiece of bureaucratic camouflage, present but invisible like the man himself. Dr. Vance knocked at her door, entering with a data tablet in hand. "You should see this," he said without preamble. "It's spreading across all networks." The tablet displayed a series of reports from various sectors. Vraxian raiding fleets had abruptly ceased operations against human vessels throughout the border regions. Xylarian diplomatic channels had issued revised guidelines for interactions with human ships, now classifying them as unpredictably capable of asymmetric defense measures. Most telling was a directive from the Tellurian Trade Consortium, advising all member vessels to ensure that human medical personnel were included on all crew manifests, with a cryptic addendum. Their presence may significantly enhance security outcomes during hostile encounters. "They think we're all like him," Vance said, shaking his head in disbelief. "That any human medical ship might suddenly transform into a death trap." "Perception becomes reality," Petrova replied, remembering Kaido's words. "And right now, the perception is that human hospital ships are not the soft targets they were believed to be." "But it wasn't us," Vance protested. "It was him, whoever he really was." "Does it matter?" Petrova asked, echoing Kaido's question to her. "The outcome is what matters. Fewer attacks on medical vessels means more lives saved." As a Nightingale underwent repairs, its story continued to spread throughout the sector and beyond. In diplomatic chambers, military academies, and pirate havens, the same footage was studied with varying degrees of disbelief and strategic reassessment. The image of surgical robots methodically disassembling Vraxian battle armor became particularly iconic, a symbol of human ingenuity that challenged long-held assumptions. Aboard a nondescript transport vessel departing Proxima 9, a passenger in simple civilian attire sat alone, reviewing data on a personal device. The geometric scar at his right temple caught the light as he studied reports of the ripple effects already spreading through the sector. A slight hint of satisfaction crossed his features as he noted a significant decrease in attacks on humanitarian vessels throughout the region. Perception alteration, successful. Civilian casualty projections, reduced by an estimated 62% over the next 3 standard months. He closed the device and gazed out at the stars. The universe was a complex system of interactions, politics, biology, technology, psychology, all following patterns that most beings never perceived. Sometimes, all that was needed was a single, precisely calculated adjustment to change destructive patterns into constructive ones. The transport's navigation system announced their departure from the station. As Proxima 9 fell away behind them, the man known as Kaido turned his thoughts to the next assignment. Somewhere in this vast galaxy, another seemingly impossible problem awaited a solution that already existed, hidden in plain sight, requiring only the right perspective to reveal it. In the aftermath of what became known as the Nightingale incident, galactic history shifted in subtle but profound ways. Perception became reality, as species throughout the sector reassessed their understanding of human capabilities and limitations. Hospital ships, once seen as vulnerable targets, were now approached with caution. The reputation of a single vessel and the unnamed genius who had briefly walked its corridors had rewritten the rules of engagement across the stars. And somewhere among those stars, moving unnoticed from one impossible problem to the next, a man with a geometric scar continued his work, neither hero nor weapon, but something far more subtle and perhaps more powerful, a catalyst for change in a universe that desperately needed it.